Hey guys, new video here. Been a while. Been playing this fun build the last day or so. I'm going to show a T16. This is a regular Elder Atoll map. Just gonna see the gameplay, see if something you're much interested in. Disclaimer: the build is it's not that great, but it's really fun, which is why I might want to make a video about it. And there's also a cool interaction between items, in which I'll show. And that kind of makes any kind of dot build able to like freeze and shock and like kind of pro lift these chains that you'll see here, right? So Vaal Blight, you know, nothing new here. Like, it has a nice little MTX on it, which is the only MTX that it has is Celestial Blight on here, so it looks kind of cool. And as you can see, I'm going through here, and you can see the explosions. That's a Celestial Herald of Ice. This is a Zob. I won't do that because that'll take too long. What was that sound? What was that sound? I dropped. Oh, that was actually the that was actually my loot filter. Okay, so basically I'm running through here, and I will do the cast here so I can talk a little bit more about the build while you see this 8 node and you can see how it performs on this. So dot build, every single ring here that hits an enemy applies a dot, right? And it kind of like stacks up the more you cast it, and then they will die. But like how are they exploding, right? Because the you know, dot builds, they can't like really shatter an enemy, right? Because the shatter is like the is like a freeze, right? And it's you know, like, how are you doing that? So the interaction is between the Storm's Gift, the Assassin's Myth. These were an item that were introduced in Synthesis, and you know, people kind of forgot about it because Synthesis does not go core, and so the items are kind of lost. But then, you know, now we have the Synthesis fight, so you can get those items back. And basically what happens is that as I'm killing enemies, right, enemies that I kill are shocked. That's just what it says on the gloves. And then also I have an Impulses on the Impulses chest, and that's like when a shocked enemy is killed, they are going to explode for you know, percentage of their life as lightning damage, and that cannot shock, right? So usually like hard to chain and stuff like that. But then what we're doing is we're going to take those shock prolifts, right, from the Storm's Gifts, and then we're gonna couple that with the Impulses, and then we're gonna put on a Call of Brotherhood, and the Call of Brotherhood takes some of that lightning damage, puts it into cold damage, so that now you actually can you know, freeze. You have some chance of freeze. You might even have some crit here and there depending on what you're using, and then you know, that causes some nice explosions. Now you can't really do 90% avoidance maps, right? You won't really see the explosions there, but as you can see, that 8 node Cassie was really easy. And let me just go ahead and open these, see if I have any loot. Oh man, loot was pretty bad there, right? So you'll see here I'm using a soul catcher as well, you know, classic will skill fair, right? Because you need to get the stacks and you get the soul gain prevention down to 0. That's very important. And give me 1 second here to finish the rest of the map, and we'll talk about the rest of the gear and the skill tree and stuff like that. But the most important part about this build is kind of a showcase of what is possible with dot builds now that we have those synthesized gloves back, right? These are some bosses here. Ooh, almost died there. And then see, the damage is pretty respectable if you have the stacks. If you run out of stacks, it's like kind of annoying. But yeah, that's it, right? Let's see if she has a Cortex. No Cortex. Okay, so let's go back to town. I'll go over a little bit of the gear once again, and then the skill tree and everything. So I am a Pathfinder. You kind of have to be a Pathfinder now with the brutal restraints being nerfed. And let's take a look. So we already mentioned the Storm's Gift, right? It spreads the shock into a tiny radius. You know, enemies that you kill are automatically shocked. We are a dot build, so it's very reliable because you're not like getting rid of the corpses right away, like with a shatter or something. The Impulses, once again, we already talked about that. You know, another nice thing about this is like you can't be affected by shock. So like shock ground maps, you know, you're not going to take extra damage. You get hit by big lightning mobs, you're not going to take extra damage there. Pretty nice. The boots are just resist and move speed. The ring Call of Brotherhood convert a little bit of the explosion damage into cold, right? Enough to shatter and prolift some Herald of Ice and things like that. And then the other ring is just a time twist because you do have to get your soul gain prevention on the Vaal Blight down to 0 somehow. The bow I'm using is just a multi-modded Bloodstained Fossil bow, multi-mod for Arcane Surge, right? For a little bit of damage there, the cast speed, and then the damage over time multiplier for the child's damage, and then the +2 for the support gems, and of course the empower that you will be having in there. Helmet is the enchant actually does not matter. The Blight AoE, you're probably not going to notice it because right now for that map I was using Void Manipulation. I have a white socket here, so I can switch this out for increased crit, right? So it'd be Blight, Controlled Destruction, less duration in power, and then either increase AoE or Void Manipulation, and then right here we have the Swift Affliction. Okay, so basically on the helmet, you can go for a Beerant Fossil for the -9 if they're nearby, and just get some life. You can even put a Hollow Fossil in here if you want, but better enchant might be like 100% dash distance, 150% effective lightning jolt, like things like that, right? The amulet is going to be a solstice video because I like my flasks lasting longer. I like all my buffs that I steal to be lasting a little bit longer. And also in here I have a blasphemy temp chains, which is free, and then so that makes it pretty nice. It's another defensive layer, also makes dots take a little bit longer. So you can use a solstice video. You can even use a in presence, a purple one, to make despair blasphemy a little bit better, although we do have a witchfire brew. So now let's talk about the quiver. Quiver is just for resist life, and you can't get AoE on an elder quiver, so that's why I went with there. And the cinder swallow just for recovery of the life. It won't work with mana because we have a soul catcher, and the soul catcher stops you from getting mana. You have to have this for whale skills because you want to get both your soul gain down to 0 and you want to have maximum stacks. I have 5 as long as the soul catcher is up. The Alchemist Quicksilver is just for speed. The Dying Sun is for AoE, not only just for the AoE of my Blight, but for the AoE of the Impulse Explosion, the AoE of the Herald Device as well. And then here is a Witchfire Brew to apply an additional curse. Okay, so the way that we get the additional curses, we have one naturally, and then we go all the way up here to the Whispers of Doom. I'm gonna put this POB in the description below if you want to copy something like this. And just know that right here I did drop the Veteran Billiard, so you lose a free Poacher's Mark to get a tiny bit extra flask effect. Okay, a big thing about this build is that you do not want skill effect duration. Okay, skill effect duration is going to make your soul gain not 0. So let me just show you what I mean. Soul gain right now base is 2.5. If I hit my soul catcher, you'll see it is 0. Soul gain 0. But what if I do something like this? Let's just say I just respec 2 points and I go, where is it? Right here. You see this is only 5% increased skill effect duration. You see that? But if I take that and then I hit my soul catcher again, you see that? It's now 0.08 instead of 0. It's something as small as 5%. Now, why is that important? Because you want it the way that you want your attacks to function, because, you know, maps and all this stuff, they're really easy in the game these days. So everything's going to die instantly. And if you don't have 0 soul gain, you're going to find that a lot of the kills that you have are going to be in that tiny window where you can't gain souls. And since like most of the monsters die when you press that button, if you can't gain souls, super dangerous. So you kind of need that to be 0. So what I mean to say is just like, don't get entropy. Don't use things like efficacy in your links. Don't use things like what else increases skill effect? Even male violence, right? So this Watch Light is just a Zelatri cast speed one, right? The consequence ground, you can't really rely on that. So before I had a male violence Watcher's Eye. For example, male violence gives you a lot of damage, right? Look at this. It gives you 20% more damage over time. That's really big. And then, but also it gives you 20% increased skill effect duration, which is going to make your soul gain prevention time a lot longer. Okay, so don't use this, and then you should be okay. Use the Lottery instead. Okay. Other than that, other things to know about this build, I kind of went up here for the extra curse, and then you actually don't need the temp chains though. If you want to drop all this, you can, and you could probably do some better pathing here, right? Going through like maybe life. Now, also it's pretty easy to get like 4.5k life on this, and the reason at the beginning of the video I said the build wasn't that good is because it's kind of inconsistent. Now most maps, as long as you're not running 90% avoidance, it will be very strong. Okay, it can clear the blights. I've cleared the blighted maps before with it. One big issue is that in blights there's this like weird little bug where sometimes in a blight encounter in a map or in a actual blighted map, you won't get souls for this, no matter what's going on. Like for some reason, like at some portals, they just like stop giving you souls. And in the actual blighted maps, when the timer hits 0, you just can't get souls anymore. Like you might get like 1 or 2 from some random way. Maybe this is like beyond map or something like that. But you just can't you can't get the souls anymore to use your big damage skill, so you have to end up using the regular Blight. But then you can't even do that sometimes, because like if you have your soul catcher ticking for a long time with the Solstice Virgil buff going off, you're gonna have to wait so long, so you gotta like rezone or like go on another character. It's really annoying for blighted content. But for general purpose mapping, it is fine. It might be kind of weird, like pressing the skill, like if you've never played a whale skill before, right? And knowing like, you know, how much do I need to stack? Do I need to pre-stack for certain types of content? But it's just like, it's just kind of annoying sometimes. Now, however, for this build, it does look really pretty. Look at this, it is pretty nice. And then also, it has some of the biggest AoE in the game because it's 3 expanding circles, so it moves with you while you run. So it can have some of the biggest AoE in the game. Other things that have huge AoE, you know, things like Fireball, Whale Spark, you know, things like this. But it's just like for what it is, right? A Chow's dot skill that's not Death's Oath, right? It is huge AoE and it looks really nice. Now, I'm going to say something about this skill, and that is even though I've been playing this for the last day, I think that one very important thing to keep in mind after playing this build is that it doesn't actually matter how good the skill is, right? As long as you're having fun, you know, it's you should try it out. So Vaal Blight, try it out. It is really good. And if you have any other questions, POB is below the YouTube video, and I stream every day on Twitch. You guys want to ask me any questions there, or just want to check out some more juicing Vaal Blight action, you can catch me there. Okay, thank you for watching my video, guys. Okay, bye everyone, bye.